Start off with about the current funding and the initial funding of the Tanzanian mortgage refinance company.
So the funding mix for us was initial funding or seed capital was from an IDA loan from the World Bank, which came through the Tanzanian government. And we used that to lend to the mortgage lenders for them to use it for on lending to their customers. But then the idea was, over time, we would develop as an institution and start to issue corporate bonds to support our funding mix. And that we have done over the last couple of years. We've done 4 tranches. We had a 5-year bond program where we're issuing in tranches. We've done 4 tranches successfully. They were all oversubscribed. And through those, we are blending those funds because for the locally raised funds, they are slightly expensive because of the interest rate regimes there. Therefore, what we do is we blend with the funding we're getting from the government, from the World Bank through the government, and use those to on lend so that there's a bit of a balance in terms of our cost of fund.
So your initial funding is at a subsidized rate and you're having to transition to a market rate in local currency, and also presumably develop a local currency investor base for your product at the same time. Tell me about how that's investor base in capital markets is developing.
The investor base is growing. Obviously, we started actually our program when honestly our capital markets was very dull. There wasn't actually an issuance for like more than 7 years when we did our first tranche. However, since we've started to issue, actually other financial institutions and other issuers have come into the market. So I think we've encouraged others to come to the market. And the transition is a bit challenging because, as you say, the funding from the World Bank through the government is concessionary funding. And therefore, to move from that, even for the lenders, they were used to the concessionary funding. It's difficult to stomach even the blended rate. So that is something that we're working with the mortgage lenders and try to make them understand and work through to make sure that we are able to blend the resources that we're raising locally.
And at the moment, you're saying they're corporate bonds. Is there a plan to issue secured bonds in some form, either directly or to facilitate covered bonds by the banks directly in the future?
So that is, I think, a journey that we are starting. Where we are now, we need to grow the primary mortgage market significantly because before doing that, it's difficult to do all these other things. And the path that we see is we'll continue to do the refinancing with recourse for some time while we grow the primary mortgage market. And then we'll probably move to securitization at some point as a next step. And I think eventually, I hope within my lifetime, we'll be able to move into covered bonds at some point in the future.
And is that covered bonds in parallel with securitizations and also in parallel with private sector covered bonds for the individual banks, or just covered bonds for yourself?
I think it probably start for an institution like ours, but eventually it probably will end up becoming one of the instruments that other financial institutions use. Similarly to what we've done in the capital markets to stimulate the capital markets for the normal corporate bond issuances, I feel the same. People will probably see us do things that eventually they will also try to emulate and do the same.